Have you ever felt a quiet distance growing between you and someone close and wondered why? Sometimes it's not about what we say or do, it's the small habits we fall into over time. As the years pass, we get comfortable, even set in our ways, without realizing that certain behaviors, though never spoken aloud, might quietly change how others see us. They don't make us less worthy, but they can dull the warmth we give off. And most of the time, we don't even notice it. In this video, I want to gently walk with you through 12 subtle patterns that may be dimming your presence, and more importantly, how to soften them. Because just a few thoughtful changes can help you feel like yourself again, confident, respected, and more connected to the people who matter most. Before we begin, if any of this speaks to you, I'd be grateful if you'd support this message by liking the video or leaving a comment below. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe so we can stay connected. And if something doesn't quite land for you, let me know. Even a simple 0 helps me grow and improve this space for you. Now, take a breath and let's begin together. Number 1, neglecting personal hygiene. Have you ever noticed how something as simple as appearance can quietly speak volumes, even when no one says a word? One of the most subtle yet powerful ways we reflect how we see ourselves is through hygiene, or sometimes the lack of it. It's often the first thing people notice, even if they're too polite or too uncomfortable to say anything. The signs are easy to recognize. Clothes worn for days, wrinkled or stained, hair that's greasy or tangled, fingernails left untrimmed, maybe with a little dirt tucked underneath, or a faint body odor that lingers longer than you'd like. These might seem like small things, but they carry a quiet weight, because hygiene isn't just about staying clean. It's about how you carry yourself and whether you're still investing in your own dignity. When we're younger, staying fresh feels automatic. It's part of our daily rhythm, something we do without thinking. But over time, life starts to chip away at those habits. Energy fades, motivation dips, and sometimes without meaning to, we start to ask ourselves, what's the point? That shift might not feel like much to you, but the people around you, they feel it. Family, friends, even the grandkids. They may not bring it up, not because they don't care, but because they don't want to embarrass or hurt you. So instead, they adapt in quiet ways. They might sit a little farther away, cut the visit short, hesitate before offering a hug. And those small changes? They're a silent response to what your appearance is telling them. It's not about vanity, it's about self-respect. When you let go of hygiene, it can look and feel like you've let go of yourself. And that changes how others interact with you. Not because they love you less, but because your energy feels resigned. On the flip side, just a few simple acts, a clean shirt, freshly combed hair, trimmed nails, the scent of soap, they speak louder than you'd think. They say, I'm still here, I still matter, I take pride in who I am. That quiet care invites others in. It tells them you're still engaged, still full of life, still someone worth leaning in to connect with. Because in the end, hygiene is more than routine. It's the foundation of how your energy flows out into the world and how deeply others feel drawn to you. If you're still with me and this message speaks to you, go ahead and comment the number 1 below. That lets me know you're here and that this journey matters to you too. Thank you for your time. Number 2, speaking without a filter. As we grow older, something subtle begins to happen. That inner voice, the one that used to whisper, maybe don't say that, starts to quiet down. And for many, that silence feels like freedom, a long-awaited right to finally speak your mind after decades of holding back. You might catch yourself saying, I'm just being honest, or at my age, I've earned the right to speak the truth. And that might be true. But here's the thing. Even if it feels freeing to speak without a filter, it doesn't always land that way for others. There's a fine line between honesty and harshness. And when we cross that line, even unknowingly, it can create tension or distance in our relationships. You might notice it in the little things, a slight pause after your comment, a glance away, a fidget in the chair. These are quiet clues that your truth may have felt more like criticism. Maybe you made a remark about someone's appearance or their parenting style or how they live their life. And when they pushed back, maybe you brushed it off with, people are too sensitive these days, or I'm just telling it like it is. But here's what often gets missed. Honesty, without empathy can feel like judgment. And most people won't tell you they're hurt. They'll just drift away. They may stop inviting you over. Keep the conversation short. Talk about lighter things just to avoid conflict. And not because they don't care, but because they're quietly protecting themselves. That's why it helps to pause, even for a moment, before you speak. Ask yourself, is this helpful? Is this kind? Sometimes what feels like speaking your truth is really just releasing built up frustration, and it can hit others harder than we think. A simple rule to follow: if you wouldn't want someone to say that to your child or grandchild, maybe it's best left unsaid or said differently. Here's the beautiful part: aging gives you wisdom, but when that wisdom is wrapped in kindness, people listen. They lean in. They want to hear your stories, your insights, your perspective, because your words feel safe, not sharp. They bring connection, not separation. And that's real power. That's the kind of voice that deepens respect and draws people closer. Number 3, wearing clothes that don't fit anymore. There's comfort in the familiar. We all have those small routines we lean into. The same breakfast each morning, a favorite chair by the window, or that one pair of pants that's been with us for years. And for many of us, the clothes in our closet hold memories. They've been part of our lives through seasons and milestones. But sometimes what feels familiar on the inside can send the wrong message on the outside. When clothes no longer fit, pants that sag or bunch, shirts that pull too tightly, shoes worn thin, or styles that haven't changed in decades, it can quietly project something unintentional. Even if no one says anything out loud, people notice. And those little details shape how they see you. Now, this isn't about trying to keep up with trends or dressing like someone half your age. That's not the point. This is about honoring who you are today. Wearing clothes that fit well, that are clean and thoughtfully chosen, reflects something deeper. It shows self-respect. It shows you're still engaged with the world, still taking pride in how you carry yourself. And when others see that, something shifts. They don't just see a sharp shirt or a pair of polished shoes. They see someone who's present, someone who hasn't faded into the background, someone who still values how they move through life. It doesn't have to be expensive. A crisp sweater in a color that lifts your skin tone, a pair of slacks that fit just right. A small update can go a long way, because people don't respond to the brand. They respond to the intention. And that effort, no matter how small, quietly says, I still care. I still show up. If you're still watching and you found this message helpful, leave a comment with the number 2. That way, I'll know you're walking this journey with me. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Number 4, interrupting or dominating conversations. With age comes something priceless: experience. You've lived through decades of ups and downs. You've learned lessons the hard way. And naturally, you want to share what you know. You want to be heard. But sometimes in that eagerness, it's easy to miss something important, the space that others need to speak. You might interrupt without meaning to. You might offer advice before someone asks. Or shift the topic toward your own story, and only later realize you've been talking for several minutes straight. It doesn't come from a bad place. In fact, it often comes from love, from wisdom, from wanting to help. But the result? It can quietly push people away. Most won't tell you directly. Instead, they pull back, little by little. Maybe they call less often, keep their visits short, or stop opening up the way they used to. It's especially common with younger adults or grandkids who already feel a bit of a gap. And when conversations become one-sided, they stop trying, not out of disrespect, but because they long for a two-way exchange, not just to listen, but to be heard too. The good news? The solution is simple and powerful. Listen more than you speak. Ask open-ended questions. Let the silence sit and resist the urge to fill every pause with your thoughts. When you make room for others to share, something beautiful happens. They feel seen. They feel respected. They feel like what they say matters. And when that happens, trust grows. Suddenly, your words carry more weight, not because you spoke louder, but because you listened first. Younger generations especially are drawn to that kind of presence. When they know you're truly listening, they lean in. They start asking you for advice. By balancing your voice with curiosity, you become a bridge. Someone who doesn't just talk at people, but builds a space where real connection happens. And those kinds of conversations, They last, they deepen, they endure. Number 5, complaining about kids these days. It usually starts small. You notice a teenager glued to their phone, barely looking up, or you see a young adult making a choice that to you just doesn't make much sense. And without meaning to, the thought slips out, kids these days. At first, it might just be a passing comment, maybe at dinner with family or while chatting over coffee with friends. But over time, those passing remarks can turn into a pattern, a steady stream of complaints about the younger generation. Here's the thing. When criticism becomes automatic, it sends a message you may not intend. It tells younger people that you're not really curious about what life is like for them, that you're holding on to a version of the world that no longer fits theirs. It makes them feel misunderstood or even rejected. And this isn't new. Every generation has looked at the next and thought they were missing something, whether it was discipline, work ethic, or respect. But when criticism becomes your main lens, it stops being wisdom and starts becoming a wall. Younger folks begin to pull back. They stop asking for advice. They stop opening up, not because they don't care, but because they don't feel safe sharing. They worry their thoughts will be met with judgment instead of interest. But here's the good news. This can change, and it starts with one small shift. Instead of saying, kids today have it too easy, try asking, what's it like growing up in your world? That simple question opens a door. It tells them you're willing to listen, that even if their world feels unfamiliar, you still respect it and them. Because real influence doesn't come from reminding people how things used to be. It comes from meeting them where they are and walking beside them. When you lead with curiosity instead of criticism, something powerful happens. They start turning to you, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely want your presence, your stories, your guidance. And that kind of connection, that's what leaves a lasting legacy. Number 7, oversharing medical problems. As we get older, aches and doctor visits become part of life. That's just the truth of it. And when you're going through something, whether it's pain, a new medication, or test results, it's natural to want to talk about it. You're not looking for pity. You're just trying to share your reality. But here's where things can get tricky. When every conversation turns into a rundown of symptoms, appointments, or treatments, it can slowly start to wear on the people around you. Friends, family, even casual acquaintances might begin to feel like they've stepped into a waiting room instead of into your life. Younger loved ones especially can feel overwhelmed. Not because they don't care, but because they don't always know how to respond. And over time, they may start pulling back, not out of coldness, but from quiet emotional exhaustion. Now, that doesn't mean you need to pretend everything's fine. You deserve compassion. You deserve support. Always. The key is balance, knowing when, how much, and who to share with. Choose the right moments. Be mindful of your audience, and make space for more than just the medical side of your story. Ask others about their lives. What's exciting them? What's been hard? Or what simply made them laugh this week? Share the parts of your day that bring color and light. The book you couldn't put down, the odd thing your neighbor said, or the hummingbird that showed up out of nowhere. Because your life is so much more than a list of prescriptions. When you lead with curiosity and joy, you become someone who uplifts the room, someone whose presence feels good to be around. And that opens the door to deeper connection, one where both people feel seen, heard, and valued. That's how relationships stay vibrant, not because of obligation, but because of mutual care and those simple, shared moments of lightness. If you're still watching and these reflections are speaking to you, please comment the number 3. That lets me know you're still here with me, and I'm grateful for that. Number 8, being stubborn about outdated beliefs. As we age, certain changes come slowly, almost quietly. We might move a little slower. Our reflexes aren't quite what they used to be, and our awareness of what's happening around us can soften without us realizing it. These shifts are normal, part of life. But sometimes they show up in small ways that affect the people around us more than we think. Maybe you find yourself pausing in the middle of a crowded grocery aisle, lost in thought, not noticing the line of shoppers trying to get by. Or you stop suddenly in a walkway, unintentionally blocking the flow of foot traffic. Sometimes you might even drift into someone's path without realizing you're in the way. You don't mean any harm? Of course not. But these little moments can add up. They create friction in shared spaces where others are constantly adjusting to make room. Most people won't say anything. Instead, they respond in quiet ways, a sigh under their breath, a sudden step to the side, or simply choosing to avoid the interaction next time. Over time, these subtle reactions can create a sense of distance. Public spaces begin to feel less welcoming, not because others are unkind, but because something's been lost in the rhythm of interaction. But here's the thing, this is not about moving fast or keeping up. It's about moving with awareness. Just a bit of intention can change everything. Keeping to one side of the walkway, pausing in a quieter corner instead of the middle of a path, taking a moment to glance around and notice the pace of others. These small habits aren't just practical, they're deeply considerate. They tell the world, I see you. I respect the space we share. That mindfulness brings grace to your movements. It lets others know that you're still engaged, still paying attention, still part of the flow of life around you. And it does more than help others. It reinforces your own sense of dignity and your connection to the world you live in. When we move with care, we create harmony, not just in physical space, but in human relationships. And that's something people remember. Number 9, walking or moving without awareness of space. As the years go by, our bodies begin to change in ways that are often subtle but meaningful. We may move more slowly. Our reflexes may not be as sharp, and our awareness of what's happening around us, the space we're sharing with others, can gently fade without us even realizing it. You might pause in the middle of a grocery aisle deep in thought, not noticing the people trying to get past. Or maybe you stop suddenly in a crowded walkway, or drift into someone's path as they're heading the other way. These moments aren't intentional, but they do create ripple effects, small disruptions that make others shift, swerve, or stop. And over time, those little disruptions can lead to something bigger. Most people won't say anything to you directly. Instead, they'll react quietly. A sigh, a step aside, or a subtle decision to avoid crossing paths with you next time. And while these moments may seem minor, they can slowly erode that natural ease we all hope for when moving through public spaces. But here's the good news. This isn't about moving faster. It's about moving with awareness, being present. Small habits can make a big difference. Stay to one side of the sidewalk. Pause in a less busy corner if you need a moment. Every so often, glance around, just to sense the flow of people around you. These simple actions aren't just courteous. They're a way of saying, I see you. I'm still tuned in. I still care about how I show up in the world. That kind of awareness creates connection, even in the smallest public moments. It tells others that you're still part of the rhythm of life, that you're thoughtful, engaged, and moving with grace, even if the pace is slower now. And more than anything, it preserves something essential, your dignity. When you walk with care, you help create an environment that feels calm, respectful, and welcoming, not just for others, but for yourself too. Number 10, making jokes that don't age well. Humor is a personal thing. It's shaped by the time we grew up in, the people we were around, and the stories we told. And maybe, years ago, certain jokes brought the house down, with your friends, your siblings, or around the dinner table. Sarcastic remarks, playful teasing, or even poking fun at certain groups, it all felt harmless back then. But times change, and so does the tone of the room. Today's younger generations live in a world that places more value on empathy, respect, and sensitivity to different backgrounds and experiences. And jokes that once got a big laugh might now get a forced smile, a polite chuckle, or a quick shift in the conversation. Not because people don't have a sense of humor anymore, but because what used to feel lighthearted may now feel a little off, or worse, a little hurtful. Over time, if this happens often, people may start to keep their distance. Conversations stay surface level, laughter becomes less genuine, and the connection you once shared quietly fades. But here's the good news. Adapting your humor doesn't mean losing who you are. It's not about walking on eggshells or hiding your fun side. It's about growing with the times and staying connected. Before sharing a joke, just pause and ask yourself, will this bring people in, or might it push someone out? Try leaning into humor that brings others closer. a funny story where you poke fun at yourself, a gentle observation about human quirks we all share, playful banter that lets everyone feel part of the moment. This shift isn't about censorship. It's about emotional awareness and the willingness to keep learning. And when you do that, something beautiful happens. Your humor becomes a bridge, a way to connect across generations, a way to show younger folks that you're still sharp, still in tune, and still someone they want to be around. Because laughter, the kind that makes people feel safe, seen, and included, that never goes out of style. If you're still here and this message resonates with you, go ahead and comment number 4. That lets me know you're watching this with me, and it means a lot. Number 11, acting helpless when you're not. As we age, certain things naturally become more challenging. Whether it's new technology, lifting something awkward, or just the fear of making a mistake, it's understandable to feel unsure at times. But there's a difference between truly needing help and defaulting to it out of habit. You might hear yourself saying things like, "Can you just do this for me?" Or, "I don't know how any of this stuff works." Even when it's something you could figure out, like using a phone, carrying a light bag, or handling a small repair at home. At first, these requests might seem harmless, but over time, they can put a quiet strain on those around you. Family members may begin to feel more like caretakers than equals. Friends might start to feel drained, always stepping in, not because they want to, but because they think they have to. This pattern doesn't come from laziness. Often, it's rooted in something deeper: the fear of looking foolish, the anxiety of trying something new, or the discomfort of not having control in a fast-changing world. But here's the truth. Over time, leaning too much on others can chip away at your independence. And when people sense a lack of effort, even unintentionally, it can lead to frustration and even distance. So what's the antidote? Effort. Not perfection, just the willingness to try. When you take on small, manageable challenges, learning how to send a text, carrying your own groceries, or figuring out a new gadget, you're showing something powerful. You're still in the game. Even if it takes a few tries, even if you mess up along the way, people admire persistence more than getting it right the first time. And when you do need help, that's okay. Just ask with clarity and thank them sincerely. Let your loved ones know you value their time and energy, because that balance between doing what you can and asking for what you need, that's what keeps relationships healthy. It lets others support you without feeling burdened, and it lets you keep that vital sense of self-respect. Because agency, real agency, isn't about doing everything alone. It's about showing up fully with whatever strength and curiosity you still have. That spirit of effort, it's what keeps your relationship strong and your sense of purpose alive. Number 12, pretending you're always right. After decades of living, learning, and navigating life's twists and turns, it's only natural to feel confident in what you know. You've been through a lot. And with that experience comes perspective, hard-earned wisdom. But here's where things can get complicated. Sometimes the need to be right can start to overshadow something even more important: the need to stay connected. Maybe you find yourself correcting other people's stories, or brushing off a different opinion with something like, "Trust me, I've been around long enough to know." Maybe you insist, even gently, that your way is the only right way to do things. It may not seem like a big deal in the moment, but over time, that pattern can wear people down. Instead of open, honest conversations, things become surface level. People stop sharing their thoughts, not because they don't care, but because they want to avoid conflict or feeling shut down. And that silence, it creates a quiet kind of isolation, a space where your voice is the only one that feels welcome. But real wisdom, the kind that builds bridges and strengthens relationships, isn't about always having the final say. It's about knowing when to speak and when to listen. When you approach conversations with humility, when you leave room for someone else's perspective, people don't pull away, they lean in. You're not losing authority by doing that. In fact, your voice becomes even more powerful because it carries respect. You can still offer your experience, still share your stories, but frame them as part of a bigger conversation, not the only answer, but one perspective among many. Ask questions, show curiosity. Let others know their thoughts matter too. This doesn't take away from who you are. It adds to it. It turns you into someone people seek out, not just tolerate. Someone who makes others feel heard and valued. That's the kind of presence that lasts. Because in the end, being wise isn't about always being right. It's about knowing when to speak, when to listen, and how to create a space where everyone, including you, can be fully present. And that's how relationships thrive. Not just today, but for years to come. Closing reflection. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Together, we've explored 12 subtle habits that can quietly shape how others see us as we age. Now, I invite you to take a breath and reflect. Which insight surprised you the most? And what's one small change you're ready to make? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, one lesson you'll take with you, and how you'll put it into practice. Because your perspective could inspire someone else too. If this video has been meaningful to you, please like, share, or subscribe. It's one simple way to help this community grow. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.